gaydar real or is it fake? Gaydar has been talked about for decades. Most lesbians I know talk about it like it's 100% true. Sometimes I meet lesbians and their gaydar is so off. I usually excuse these women. It seems they think all women are lesbians. Wishful thinking. Does gaydar exist or not? If it does exist, does it mean we were born gay? Or maybe if it doesn't exist, are we just stereotyping? Is it important we know the truth about gaydar? Some studies say gaydar 100% exists, and other studies say that it doesn't exist at all. Here are the studies that say gaydar is completely true. Northwestern University doctoral student Molly Rubin did a research study on gaydar. She took 2 groups of women. The first group had 4 straight and 5 lesbians, and they talked into a camera for 5 minutes. Then they wrote down what they were thinking and feeling at the time. The second group of women was 67% straight and 43% lesbians. They watched the videos of the recorded women. They wrote down what they thought about the women's sexuality, thoughts, and feelings. Outcome? Lesbians were better at spotting lesbians. Heterosexual women were better at understanding thoughts and feelings. Interpretation? Lesbians care about sexual orientation when looking at women. Generally, straight women do not. So lesbians will be better at knowing who is a lesbian or not. Other studies. There was a study in 2009 and another study in 2012. The subjects were given a split second to look at pictures of female faces. The eyebrows, hair, jewelry, everything was removed. Lesbians that looked at the picture could tell which were lesbians more than 50% of the time. A split second look is using the subconscious part of the brain. But when the faces were put upside down, it was not as easy to tell. Lesbians could not tell from looking at these faces if they were straight or lesbian. Obviously, the brain has to work harder to look at these things when upside down, kicking it into the conscious mind. So the subconscious was overridden. Here are the studies that say gaydar is completely false. With research, there is always someone around to refute studies. One math person said the studies testing gaydar With research, there is always someone around to refute studies. One math person said the studies were highly inaccurate. There is only 3 to 8% of the population that is gay, lesbian, or bisexual. It was not an accurate study to have 50% of the subjects gay, lesbian, as many of the subjects do. Click here to get With research, there is always someone around to refute studies. One math person said the studies testing gaydar were highly inaccurate. There is only 3 to 8% of the population that is gay, lesbian, or bisexual. It was not accurate to have 50% of the subjects gay, lesbian, as many of the studies do. Another study told one group of participants gaydar was real. Another group was told it was stereotyping, and another was told nothing. The participants looked at social media. They looked at men that had likes related to gay stereotypes, fashion, and shopping. They also looked at men that had interests in hunting, sports, cars, and men that had neutral likes. They found that those that were told gaydar exists were much more likely to stereotype. That's a great study for researching stereotype. I'm sure the results were accurate, but they weren't testing gaydar. As far as the study says, the participants weren't gay. Gaydar is when a person, gaydar is when a gay person looks at a person and determines if the person is gay. It has nothing to do with judging a guy for wearing a pink shirt. I was in a restaurant with a gay male friend of mine the other day, near the college where I live. He looks at this guy across the room and says to me, "I'm gonna eye-fuck that guy." I say, of course, "How do you know he's gay?" Friend says, "I know." Now that's gaydar. If you tell people they have gaydar, says Cox. If you tell people they have gaydar, says Cox, it legitimizes stereotypes. If you tell people they have gaydar, says Cox, it legitimizes stereotypes. I never heard straight guys or women talk about having gaydar. If you tell people they have gaydar, says Cox, it legitimizes stereotypes. I never heard straight guys or women talk about having gaydar. Calling someone a faggot is not gaydar. It's stereotyping and hateful. My rebuttal? I believe researchers who probably aren't lesbians or gay are judging those of us that believe in gaydar. There are times when I say I know a woman is a lesbian because I know, and I don't know how I know. Am I stereotyping or sexual orientation profiling? It's not the 1980s anymore. Lesbians don't all have mullets, wearing big white sneakers, and play on the softball team. Those were painful years. Yes, it was easy to tell, at least on my college campus. And the Y generation hipsters has mixed everything up. Everyone's wearing flannel and beanies. This is great because everyone can be themselves or whoever the heck they want to be. Many people have become so diverse in their hairstyles and clothing. I know the last time I went to get a makeup consultant, the guy that helped me out had makeup on. I'm 99% sure that guy was not gay. Or when you see that middle-aged man wearing a pink shirt to work and you know he's not gay. He's either really totally secure and doesn't care what people think, or he's going through some kind of midlife crisis. But you know he's not gay. When I see a woman that is your everyday woman, not a classic butch or wrapping herself up in the rainbow flag, I still know. Why did these studies even begin anyhow? Researchers thought if they could prove gaydar was real, they could prove that lesbians and gays were born that way. And to prove it is biologically determined is to help protect people from prejudice. In 1998, the American Psychiatric Association said they would no longer support conversion therapy. Conversion therapy is barbaric. Conversion therapy and to prove it is biologically determined is to help protect people from prejudice. In 1998, the American Psychiatric Association said they would no longer support conversion therapy. Conversion therapy is barbaric. Conversion therapy are techniques used to try to change gays into heterosexuals. So proving it is biological was a very good idea. If the message was clear that gays and lesbians were born that way, hopefully others would stop trying to coerce them into changing and also stop people from judging others. Homosexuality was considered a mental disorder until 1973. During the 1970s, there was a lot of propaganda about gays and lesbians. It was publicized that gays and lesbians could not have children. Thus, they had to recruit children into their gay ways. The American public hasn't come far enough, but they've come a long way. So, it did make sense that in the 1980s there was a lot of talk about gays, lesbians being born that way. It sure beats being called mentally ill or a child molester. Do we still need to prove to anyone that we're lesbians? Were we born this way or was it a choice? I believe I was born this way, but if I feel like I had a choice, I would definitely choose being a lesbian. I love every part of myself. I've heard women say that they would choose being straight because their life would be so much easier. And that's okay. But remember, everything you've been through has made you who you are. My sexuality has required me to look at life differently, to be more curious and questioning. It has added to my critical thinking skills tremendously, and being a lesbian is a big part of who I am. I wouldn't want to give up any part of me. Of course, I am better at knowing who a lesbian is. I'm paying attention. If I'm good at telling who's male and who's female, is that stereotyping? If I can't tell if a person is Hispanic or Caucasian, I don't get a bunch of high fives, people telling me I'm not stereotyping. Because I can't tell the difference between a man and a woman or a black and a white person, I am not sexist or racist. Being able to identify who is a lesbian does not mean I'm homophobic. So where are we today? Do we need to continue to prove it's biological? Is being bisexual biological? Are we all born on a continuum, some born more gay or more straight than others? I wonder. And then again, I don't. I think we're asking the wrong questions. Do you love yourself? Are you proud of your entire self every day? Have you been able to form a community or family of support? And what about the homophobics? The question should be, why are they so full of hate towards us? And let's give it a more accurate name. Are they homo haters? Homo hostiles? Let's face it, homophobic people are not phobic. No one has ever been scared of me because I'm a lesbian, but they have been hateful and disgusted. The word homophobia needs to be brought up to speed, and people need to get real about it. Shouldn't researchers be studying why people are homophobic? Why do some people feel the need to judge others or spread hate towards gays and lesbians? As a whole, it would be more helpful to study this phenomena and stop the hate. From my experience, people who say that they have Gaydar, from my experience, do not hate gays and lesbians. If people do claim to have Gaydar, it's just a thing, not something to categorize or stereotype people. What do you think? Is Gaydar real or stereotyping? Do some people have it and others don't? Do you have it some of the time, but not all of the time? Let me know below.